Ask yourself quietly, without drama. Do you know God? Or are you simply used to thinking that you do? Not whether you go to church, not whether you know how to pray with the right words, but truly, when was the last time His presence undid you instead of merely calming you? When was the last time His word touched you so deeply that you wanted to stay silent rather than explain it? Because there's an uncomfortable truth most people avoid. Many will live their entire lives with an idea of God, yet never actually meet Him. They will know the right phrases. They'll say God is love. They'll say they believe. But belief without intimacy quickly becomes decoration. Familiar, safe, and empty. Knowing God is not a status or a phase you once passed. It's a path, long and sometimes painful. A path where every step reveals how shallow things used to be. And here's the strange part. God is not hiding. But He does not reveal Himself to the indifferent. He does not open Himself to those who merely stand nearby. He reveals Himself to those who seek, who hunger, who are willing to lose comfort for the sake of truth. This text is not meant to soothe you. It isn't meant to make you feel like a good Christian. It's meant to make something inside you restless. Because knowing about God may make you religious, but knowing God can ruin you in the best way. It changes how you speak, how you stay silent, how you look at people, and how you see yourself. There is a depth you were created for, and there are levels on this journey. The question isn't whether you're on the path. The question is where you are right now. Most people never move past the first level. The subtle, almost invisible. It's the stage of the crowd. You know about God. You've heard enough sermons to recognize the language. You can quote a verse or two. You know what a good Christian is supposed to sound like. And from the outside, everything looks fine. But strip it all away for a moment. No church service. No music. No routine. No one watching. Just you alone in a quiet room. Is there a relationship there? Or just a habit? Crowds followed Jesus everywhere. Thousands listened to Him. They watched miracles happen right in front of their eyes. They admired His authority. But most of them never followed Him when it stopped being exciting. They liked what He did, but not who He was. They loved the power, not the presence. They knew facts about Him, but they didn't know Him. And this is where it gets uncomfortable. You can spend your whole life close to holy things and still never be changed by them. You can know the language of faith without ever hearing God's voice. You can be informed and still untouched. That's the danger of this level. Feels safe, feels familiar, and it asks almost nothing from you. Proximity feels like intimacy, but it isn't. Being near God is not the same as pursuing Him. Crowds are content to watch from a distance. Friends step closer. Face-to-face costs something. Here's the hard question. If God stopped doing things for you, no blessings, no answers, no emotional highs, would you still want Him? Or would your faith quietly fade with the benefits? This level doesn't make you evil. It just makes you comfortable. And comfort is often the greatest enemy of depth. The second level looks deeper, but it can be just as deceptive. This is the stage of belief. You don't just know about God anymore. You're convinced He exists. You believe He created the world. You believe He is powerful, holy, real. And on the surface, that sounds like faith. But belief alone can sit very comfortably in the mind while never touching the will. There's a strange tension here. You can believe something is true and still live as if it changes nothing. You can believe fire is hot and still put your hand into it. You can believe water gives life and still die of thirst if you never drink. Belief by itself doesn't move your feet. It doesn't reshape your habits. It doesn't confront your idols. This is where conviction begins to stir, but not everyone follows it. Something inside you starts whispering that life is more than survival, pleasure, or success. You feel moments of guilt, moments of hunger, moments when eternity presses against your chest and asks for your attention. But instead of responding, many people learn how to manage that tension. They believe, but they delay. They agree, but they don't surrender. And here's the uncomfortable part. You can believe in God and still live as if He has no authority over you. You can believe and still protect your favorite sins. Still justify patterns you know are hollow. still pray selectively, still obey only when it's convenient. Belief without surrender quietly turns faith into theory. This is where many get stuck for years. They call belief faith and wonder why nothing changes, why there's no fruit, no depth, no real transformation. They treat belief like insurance rather than relationship, as if agreement alone is enough to carry them through a lifetime. But real faith always interrupts something. It disrupts comfort. It demands a response. If belief never leads you to lay something down, it hasn't gone far enough yet. This level is not failure. It's an invitation, but it's a dangerous place to camp, because belief that never becomes obedience slowly hardens into illusion. And the path forward only opens when belief stops being an opinion and starts becoming a decision. The third level feels different the moment you step into it. This is where faith stops being abstract and becomes personal. This is the encounter stage. You don't just believe God is real anymore. You've felt him, and that changes something you can't undo. It might have happened quietly, or suddenly, maybe in worship, maybe alone at night, maybe in the middle of pain when you had no strength left to pretend. A moment where something deeper than emotion moved through you, where tears came before words, where your mind lagged behind what your spirit already knew. God was there, not as an idea, not as doctrine, as presence. You can't fake this stage. You can't manufacture it. And once it happens, religion starts to feel thin. You realize God isn't distant. He's near, closer than you thought, closer than you're comfortable with. But here's where many misunderstand what's happening. Encounters are powerful, but they're not the destination. They are an invitation, a doorway, not a home. Too many people stop here. They chase the feeling again, the atmosphere, the moment, the rush. They confuse goosebumps with growth. God never intended encounters to replace obedience. He uses them to awaken hunger, to pull you forward, not to keep you dependent on emotional highs. A moment with God is meant to change how you live when the moment is gone. There's a danger at this level too. You can learn to seek experiences instead of seeking God himself. You can love the feeling of his presence more than his will. And slowly, without noticing, encounters become something you consume rather than something that transforms you. But when an encounter is received rightly, it ruins your old routine. It makes going back impossible. It creates a quiet dissatisfaction with shallow faith. You start wanting more than moments. You want continuity. You want him, not just what happens when he shows up. If you've encountered God, don't build a shrine around the memory. Let it push you forward. Let it strip excuses away. Let it turn hunger into movement. Because the question after an encounter is never, did I feel God? It's, what am I willing to change because I met him? The fourth level is quieter, less dramatic, and for many, harder. This is where you stop chasing moments and start walking. Walking with God sounds simple, almost gentle, but it's here that things begin to cost you. Walking means rhythm, consistency. It means God is no longer someone you visit in special moments. He becomes the one you move with through ordinary days. While you work, while you clean, while you're tired, while nothing feels spiritual at all. And that's exactly why most people avoid this level. It doesn't give you instant reward. It doesn't always feel powerful. It asks for faithfulness when no one is watching. At this stage, your prayers change. You stop asking God to bless your plans and start asking what he's already doing. You begin to listen more than you speak. And slowly, sometimes frustratingly slowly, his voice becomes familiar. Not loud, not dramatic, just steady, personal, clear enough to follow, quiet enough to ignore if you choose. And that's where the real tension shows up. Walking with God will separate you, not in an arrogant way, but in a very real one. Some relationships stop making sense. Some habits start feeling heavy. Some paths you once loved quietly close. Not because they were sinful on the surface, but because they no longer align with where he's leading you. Walking requires trust before clarity. You often don't get the full map, just the next step, and that can feel unfair, especially if you like control, especially if you're used to certainty. God rarely explains everything in advance. He asks you to walk anyway. This level won't impress people. It won't go viral. It won't always feel meaningful. But it will shape you. Slowly, deeply, irreversibly. Here, faith stops being something you talk about and becomes something you practice. Day after day. Choice after choice. So the question here is simple but not easy. Are you walking with God? Or just checking in with Him when you need something? The fifth level is where things stop being controlled. This is love. Not the emotional kind that rises and falls. Not fear. Not obligation. Love that stays when nothing is gained from it. At this point, you no longer follow God because you're afraid of consequences or because you want Him to fix your life. You follow Him because you want Him. That's the shift. You're not chasing comfort anymore. You're chasing closeness. And it changes the questions you ask. You stop asking how far you can go without crossing the line. You start asking what else you can lay down. Not because someone told you to, but because something in you wants less distance. Obedience stops feeling like pressure and starts feeling like alignment, like breathing the right air. This level gets uncomfortable in a different way. God stops dealing with your surface behavior and starts touching motives, wounds, old patterns you learned to live with. He doesn't rush. He doesn't force. But He doesn't let you hide either. And strangely, you let Him, because love creates trust. Prayer changes here too. You're not performing. You're not trying to sound spiritual. Sometimes you don't even have words. Just honesty. Just presence. Silence becomes full instead of awkward. You start missing Him when you don't turn your attention toward Him. Not out of guilt. Out of hunger. And here's the part people don't say out loud. Love makes you vulnerable. You can't pretend anymore. You stop managing your image. God sees everything anyway, and now you're okay with that. You let Him into the messy rooms, not just the clean ones. This is where faith becomes personal in the deepest sense. Not inherited, not borrowed, chosen. But love still isn't the end. Because love, if it's real, always wants union. The last level is the one people rarely talk about without softening it. Not because it's mysterious, but because it's costly. This is union. Not visiting God. Not walking beside Him. But letting Him live through you. Here the center shifts completely. Your life stops being something you ask God to bless. It becomes something you hand over. Not in a dramatic moment, but in 1,000 quiet decisions. Your identity loosens its grip. Your need to be right, to be seen, to be in control slowly fades. Not because you're trying to disappear, but because something greater has taken its place. At this level, obedience isn't debated anymore. It's natural, almost instinctive. You don't wrestle for hours about whether to forgive. Let go, stay silent, move forward. You feel the direction and you move. Not because it's easy, often it isn't, but because resistance feels heavier than surrender. This is where your prayers change again. You're not asking God to guide your thoughts. His thoughts begin to shape yours. Compassion flows without effort. Humility stops being an idea and becomes a posture. You still feel fear, doubt, weakness, but they no longer rule you. They pass through, not stay. Few reach this place not because God withholds it, but because it asks for everything. Not most things, not the visible sins. Everything, even the parts you were proud of, especially those. And here's the paradox. You don't lose yourself here. You finally become who you were meant to be. Less noise, less striving, more clarity, more weight. People don't just hear your words anymore. They feel something behind them. This is where life stops being about success, impact, or even ministry. It becomes about alignment, about oneness, about being so close that there's no space left to pretend. And maybe the question isn't whether you're ready for this level. Maybe the real question is whether you're willing to stop before it. So where does that leave you now? Not in theory, not in comparison with anyone else. Just you standing honestly in front of God. Maybe you recognized yourself at the beginning, comfortable, informed, close, but untouched. Or maybe belief has lived in your mind for years without ever fully reaching your hands and feet. Maybe you've had encounters you still remember clearly, moments that marked you, but never reshaped the direction of your life. Maybe you've been walking faithfully, quietly, doing the unseen work of obedience, yet holding back one last room you don't want opened. Or maybe something stirred when you heard about union, not understanding it fully, but sensing that this is what you were made for. A life where God isn't an addition, but the center, where faith isn't effort, but alignment, where love isn't forced, but flowing. Wherever you are, the danger is not being unfinished. The danger is stopping, settling, calling depth optional and surface sufficient. Because the greatest loss isn't failure. It's choosing comfort over transformation. God is not asking for a polished version of you. He's not impressed by titles, years, or appearances. He's asking for you, the real you, the tired you, the distracted, uncertain, inconsistent you. That's the one he's always been after. And this kind of closeness doesn't happen by accident. You don't drift into it. You choose it, again and again, in small decisions, in quiet obedience, in moments no one sees. So maybe this isn't a message to understand. Maybe it's a moment to respond, not with promises, not with emotion, just honesty. God, I don't want to know about you anymore. I want to know you, whatever it costs, wherever it leads. I'm willing, and that willingness is where everything truly begins.